All right, let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me today for my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Toward Success. My name is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for this brand new season. I started last week and now I'm keeping it moving, right? This will be episode 32, focusing on the show topic entitled To Be or Not to Be a Prestige Leader. So let's go ahead and get started with this topic. I came up with this topic this past summer, and to focus on that because I think leadership is key. We all need leadership, good leadership, but we have that predicament where we come to terms where a change needs to be made. So this show topic today is focusing on where you decide to be a prestige leader. Now, for the new listeners to my podcast show, you might want to know, what is a prestige leader? What do I mean by that? I encourage you to go to my season 1 where I have that episode concerning about prestige leadership. Okay? And basically, just to give you a quick background on that term that I created, is that prestige is the highest esteem. It's just not about the status, but it's about the respect. It's about the ability to influence people. When you influence people, you can make an impact in people's lives. And of course, we need to aim for the good and not the opposite of that, right? So let's get started into this episode. But first, let me go ahead and say, in this day I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity, that I will use it for the greater good. Welcome, my survivors of the journey, to my second season of podcasting, and I love it. Okay, so thank you so much, survivors of the journey, to my podcast that aims to inspire and motivate, that you will continue to have joy, peace of mind, and for your sustained success. So thank you so much for joining me today. Let's get right into it. So the most important point one that I want to start off is that being only in it to prove your power doesn't last. So leaders must desire to be better and aim to do it with a strategy. If not, the stress will get to leaders in a way, in the end, it's not even worth it. Now, that can be taking on some activities that you shouldn't take into consideration of doing, that harms you both mentally, physically, and spiritually. You got to look at it as if whatever you give out is going to come back around. Now, you might have been lucky and stayed in leadership that you can be able to dictate and so forth. And I'm not talking to all the listeners here. Some listeners that I feel you're here because you're on the other end of it, getting all that drama and all that stress. And then I feel that I have listeners that are in leadership that just want the madness to stop. They want mental peace. They want to be successful. So take the words of how I'm saying it in a good of light, in positive essence, that I'm not here to get the rep and do this and that. That's, to me, if you want to help someone, of course you got to talk about the negatives in order to resolve it, but you say it in a way that you don't take away their esteem. That's important because that's your worth. And last year I said my theme was to find your worth. I think that's the root of everything, what we go through in life. So that's important number one. I'm going to repeat what I just said. Important point number one for today's topic is that don't be in it for the power that you have, that you can implement that in a way that causes other people stress. Focus on the ability that you can make a difference, because in the end you will suffer. What you were able to avoid is going to come back around in some shape or form, and it could be health wise, or it could be just your mind, because it comes back up. It always do. Number two, my wisdom point, which is number 2 point, is that too much is given, much is required. I'm going to repeat that. Too much is given, much is required. Leadership gains power to make decisions that serves the overall purpose for the business to operate or a project to exist. Without commitment, there is no purpose or desire to move in a direction that warrants gaining the joy that you seek. Everything is fake if you don't follow that motto, that path. again. I'm going to talk about this again. That wisdom point. Okay, I'm going to bring focus on this a little bit more before I move on. So when we say too much is given, much is required, is that it takes effort, a lot of effort, to be in a prestige mindset. And some leaders, I think, are just lazy and greedy and impatient. And I can go on and on and on. And you probably saying some words to yourself, listening to this podcast, agreeing with me. But at the end of the day, the wisdom is that you have to look at the path ahead. Just because it's going in your way now and you're getting away with it, and you say, well, I don't really need to be prestige leadership. I just need to do what I need to do to get what I need to get the numbers where I need to get the financial, you see how I'm saying, you see how I keep saying those words about you, yourself. And when we look at the word team, as we say it here in the States, teams mean together everyone achieves more, and that's true. So you can't be, well, I give a little, then I take a back. That's not what the wisdom point is. Too much is given. Power is a lot. You control things. So you have to look at it that way. And so you have to decide, am I willing to be the effort that's required? Effort is motion. Effort is thought in a way that you're going to make a difference that matters. So why is this so? Well, like I mentioned earlier about the team, it's involving everyone, not just the one. And so leaders must consider the inclusion of others and their needs. Who are we really talking about? Of course, leaders, right? People in authority. They only see the bottom line that benefits them, that do not take seriously the load of pressure on employees during a workday. They hardly ever say a thank you or mean it, that they are thankful as soon as the work is done and complete and they got their numbers and they got their financial gain, right? So they are back on the block demanding things after they achieve their goals. That's not being a prestige leader. Prestige leader is showing empathy and being thankful. So you have to continue to give and you will receive. So those that show no leeway or flexibility, those are the who that I'm talking about. But want you to be as much as flexible as you can with working long hours, sometimes low pay, that takes away from their family what they need to do, where you're enjoying the fruits of the labor, which you could say, well, I contribute labor too by making decisions and doing this, doing that. And I'm not saying that's not a part of it, but that's what a leader does. That's what a prestige leader, you do what you need to do to get the job done, but you need the labor, the mass labor, in order to produce the quantity of what you seek of return. So what are the symptoms? What are the signs of that, I should say? High turnover, high stress employees, low wages, no empathy towards the staff, missed opportunities to really grow, no mental peace for many people. That is significant, because if you able to hold on to materialistic things, and I'm talking to those that are kind of, I don't know, because if you don't want to be a prestige leader, meaning that you don't want to achieve the best that you can, because it's a learning experience, all right, and you just want to continue the negativity, then there is no mental peace. And mental peace, no matter what things that you have, if you don't have that, you're not happy. You're not getting the joy, right? And the people that are on the other side of it is listening and saying, they got to be saying that's the truth. And also, like I said, there's no joyfulness to want to work later on. For that matter, the people that work under you. So what are the strategies to succeed? You got to stop the denial that all is well because of the financial return coming in. That is significant. Money don't make people truly happy. It just pays the bills and keep the roof over their head. Survival. So denying the things that makes us human, compassionate, considerate, brings forth the joyfulness in our hearts that people respect leaders for, and that equals to prestige, the status, not the status in self-serving, but the status of what you earn, what you gain. You can't put money on that. So you got to monitor your decisions, that either it is progressing others in a positive way that do not directly serve on you or the company all the time. Okay? I know I put a little emphasis on that, but I got to speak for those that the foot is on their neck and they stressing out. So you got to focus on giving and you will receive the return. Choose to be a prestige leader. Do the work. Put in the effort. Form a rapport with your team. Gain the benefits. All right? So I want to wrap up in the sense of focusing on your task to dusk to dawn. And again, as I mentioned last week, and I started this in my first season of podcasting, it comes from one of my mentors that I admired, how his commitment, that's W.B. Du Bois, how his commitment working towards an effort that produces results. Now, we're not talking about if you side with this or side with that train of thought, but it's just a metaphor in a sense of doing what's required to get the job done. And it was a massive job that he did. He left a lot of blessings for other people beyond his time. That is over 100 years, and people are still in tune to his message and in tune to his work and his ethic. So, number one, and to do that, you have to make the right decisions. So, your task to dusk to dawn that I like to have towards the end of my podcast is to get you on your checklist to focus on and get it done, so you can get the difference of what I'm trying to give you this message for today. So number one, your task is to measure your decisions. A leader that makes bad decisions is not a leader. Okay, you definitely not prestige. Because see, a prestige leader, they're going to do the research. If they fail, they don't look at it as a failure and stay down. They analyze that, they get the resources that they need and that they can get, and they make it happen. So they measure their decisions the next time around to avoid any additional failures that cause harm. Now, when I say harm, it's not physical harm that you're doing to other people, it's mental. Okay? So you need to measure your decision. If you're making a decision and you think, well, I'm thinking this is for the team, and actuality is not, right? So that's one of the golden rule in leadership, that decisions makes a leader, and it defines their ability to be a prestige or not. It is a good plan for everyone, or is it just for you? So does this take away more time of employees to be with their families? Consider that. Everyone do not wish to be tied to their job. That's why everybody's rushing for vacation. They got to get out, get a peace of mind. It is supposed to be, or should, in a way, be just only a portion of their lives at their job. Okay? So you got to think that a plant needs water and the sun. So there is a balance. When one is missing the other, guess what happens? That plant not surviving. So being unbalanced at work because of demands is not being prestige and thoughtfulness to those that work those hours to get you the numbers that you seek. So learn to listen to feedback. That's my second point of your task to dusk to dawn, meaning that you would do these tasks from beginning to end for the days that are required to get it done. So that's what basically this segment is. Your task to dusk to dawn is that you need to listen to feedback. If you gotten feedback in the past about things, this ain't working, this is that, that will make them happy, do it. Do it. Find a way. Of course, you don't want to do it in the sense that it completely destroys the infrastructure of the company. Of course not. Okay? That's not going to happen. But you got to show an effort and reason to why it's not, and you move on. I know I mentioned this before in my previous podcast about leadership, how you measure which way to go. And that's basically what you have to do. You have to be analytical. That's what leadership is. Leadership is ability to process information and data and move forward with what you're working with to get the results that you seek. So being a grudge, or being yourself disgruntled in the sense of you don't want to make a change, you don't want to change the street, you want to stay on this path. No, you have to think that work and working at a job is like a highway. There's so many people trying to get to a place that will bring them the joy that they seek. Okay? The next one, the third one, your task to dusk to dawn, is the most important one, is what is the turnover of employees at your company? If it is one that's similar to like a water breach of leaving the riverbank, you got problems. Okay? High turnover is a red flag. If you in senior management, listen to this podcast, and you have a manager underneath you and people are running out the door, meaning every time you get somebody hired, some 3 or 4 people leaving, it's time to really look at that leadership decision making. It's time to look, what are they doing to motivate those employees? It's one reason why I'm glad I'm doing this podcast, because I know if it's only one person that's in leadership listening to this, and they hear me, they hear the points, Because like I said, I've been blessed in the sense that the previous jobs I had, I always got close or got connected to people in higher management. I didn't realize now that my purpose was to write about it and to help in the sense where they have these conflicts and they can't move forward, is to help them move, help them move forward in a positive way, was just gearing me up to be able to communicate and to tell you and to give you a red flag, because I know you get really busy and you don't really have time of the mic. I'm not talking about micromanagement, but sometimes you have to in these circumstances when you see that the one that you promote isn't the one. High turnover is a red flag. Stop ignoring it and then say we just hire more people, or is this or is that. You got to look at the leadership who's leading the team, why they want to jump. People don't want to leave when they need to pay their bills, when they need to survive. Okay? For the most part, they don't want to do that. If they are, that means it is extremely craziness. Okay? So the reason that the business operation continues, and you think, well, it's not that big deal because we still bringing in that financial gain or building in the financials, what we need to continue on. So it's just a way to just now compensate from the high cost of rehiring, retraining, conflicts, personalities doesn't make. I don't care how good your personality, pre-hiring, quizzes that you do, low staffing, irritating customers. You get the picture of what I'm saying. It backfires. Eventually it backfires. And you get real low and your little plan to cover it up doesn't really work anymore. Or your way of saying, well, I'll just let that manager handle it. We just figure it out. You got to stop what you're doing and you need to take a hold of that like a bullhorn and figure out what's the issue or remove the problem. So you got to get serious about it to know why and listen to the feedback and make a commitment to change what's needed, starting with you in the leadership role. Be the prestige leader that you can be for the long term, not the short term, because that is the key to your mental peace, especially if you're working in your career for a long period of time. Eventually, you're going to retire. Okay? You want your mind to be right. You want to be a peace of mind. You want to enjoy your retirement. Because what you didn't do, what you could do by having the authority, by not being a prestige leader, is going to come back around to full circle. It's the circle of life. You see, and I just came up with that, but it's the truth, right? So as you can see, a paycheck, I want to point out that employee gets with no peace or joy at their job and they leave anyway, that's a wake-up call for those that are listening. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? You got to ask yourself, it's a problem. What's going on? And find it. You got to be that's the prestige leader. Prestige leadership, not only decisions and making up strategies, but they look at things in a way that they're going to fix it. And it works. So your motivational takeaway is to be a prestige leader is to be a leader that matters in leading forward the primary objective for a desired positive results that requires the courage and commitment within. It is giving, not receiving. Thank you. Thank you again for joining me for my podcast episode from my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey to Success. Just to give you some information to not only stay in contact, but with the other things that I offer. I provide career consultation, offering the first 30 minutes are free. Thereafter, there is a fee excess afterwards per hour and can be discussed on a case-by-case basis, depending on your need. So if it is an emergency and you need some consultation regarding your career or choices that you're about to make moving forward in a sense in your personal type objectives, then you can definitely contact me. The primary way to contact me is by email, which is info@nichelanderson.com. Now I do have a toll-free number on my website. Now that is actually only for webinars when I'm doing like a free webinar and you're calling in. Once that number is through that medium, and it's only really for that, so it's not really connected to me directly. Now I am working on that, but for right now it's not really, and when that changes you would definitely get a notice of that to go forward. So just to recap, my primary way is info@nichelanderson.com. All right, so the other thing I want to share with you is that I also provide business courses and self-improvement courses. So That overall objective is to help you to create strategies that work for you, to get you motivated, to identify the ways to get your or keep your joy and your mental peace. So I do provide that on the basis of your objective to gain success, and as I like to say, sustain success. You can find information on my courses that I release on my official website, which is www.nichelanderson.com. And you can go there and you can look at the different courses that I am releasing that are available. These courses are self-paced. They will be identified if they're considered to be like live sessions on a regular basis, but for the most part, they are self-paced. During that time, I do have live sessions that once you have signed up for the course, you will see that in the schedule of what days that I'm available live, that you can talk to me and we can go over the courses going forward, right, on those particular topics. So that information is basically on my website that you can go to, which is nichelanderson.com. Now, I want to do a special call out for listeners that I have seen in my stats that are following me, continue to follow me, which I am thankful for. Now, to get connected more, to stay connected, I'm asking you to consider to join my newsletter that I do send out. And to do that, you just have to submit, of course, your name and your email. I don't spam. You could always request to be taken off the list. I don't send thousands of emails because I don't like thousands of emails from a particular source. So I keep it very in a way that's informative, of course, because obviously you like the content because you hear and you enjoy it and you're getting something from it, which pleases me. To expand that and to move forward and to get into other ways that I can expand what I'm trying to do is to form a newsletter, to get that set up in the sense that I'm communicating that I can send that out more quickly, actually, through a podcast or any type of thing or production that I'm doing, where a newsletter is more, in the sense, faster to get that contact and to send it out on blast, right? And more opportunity to send more content compared to like social media characters to be able to get that message out. So do consider that to join my newsletter by providing, and you can find that link at the end of each episode. I have that link to basically to sign up here for Nichel E-List Tips newsletter. And you could do that and you can see that and click, and it's a short form, online form. It is secured and you can complete that. All right, the other thing I want to talk about is basically to subscribe to this podcast. If you haven't, please go ahead. Of course, this is going through Podbeam. I have 2 podcasts. This one, of course, you're listening to is Surviving Your Journey to Success. And you can subscribe. Of course, you should see the subscribe button here at the bottom of this episode or at the top, whichever device that you're using. Now, I'm also available on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, on Google Play, on iTunes, and any other podcast directories for feed distribution. You can connect that way and subscribe, and if you like it, share it. Now, I am on social media, and so you do hear me a lot talk about Twitter. I'm mostly active on Twitter. I'm also active on Facebook. For the most part right now is Twitter, and I like the whole concept of keeping it short and sweet, but I'm connecting to people in different parts of the world. And then Facebook, I'm definitely on there as well, and you can connect me with that. So my Twitter handle is basically twitter.com/Nichel Anderson. My Facebook page, facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. My official website, as I mentioned earlier, is nichelanderson.com. That is my official website. It's mainly focusing on self-improvement, motivation, life coaching, leadership courses, things that I really love to help people, what I have learned, and also to connect and to try to create the content in a way that you can feel comfortable about it, open up about the areas where you're struggling at, and it's usually pretty much our career and our personal life. So these self-paced courses give you the opportunity to really think things out, because you got to think about it. In this world, our mind has to be able to process so many things in so little time. And so you're here, you're there, you're everywhere, and you don't really get the opportunity to stop, to think, to react in a way that moves you forward and to get things done, to get a blueprint. And that's basically the two courses that I recently released. And I will continue to evolve from that and add more courses, of course, or, redo some of the courses that I have. And Blueprint for Success is a very good one in the sense of identifying that and moving to a point that you have a plan and that you can move forward. And that's the key. So, at any rate, check that out on my official website and definitely connect with that and share it with somebody else. Now, the other thing I would like to share with you is that, of course, I am an author. And so, my very first book that I got published that I was called to do, it was my purpose, and I see it now. And it's a part of my whole podcast show title. It's called Corporate America, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. It is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It's available in book form and ebook. Okay, so you can get that at any book retailer in the world that have access to the ISBN for each book. So you can get that and you can download it or you can purchase it or what have you. But go ahead and check out my book, and if you like it, share it. Okay, and that was basically given to me to do, and immediately I felt that I could help college students. I recently got out of college and I was like, I can help students. I mean, I didn't know the politics of corporate America, and over time I even got better at understanding the dynamics and the politics of that. And it's very, very important. So if you do know someone that's in college, you got to get them this book. Okay, if you're already in corporate America and you're out of college, you still need to get the book or recommend it to somebody. The book was a blessing because a few years later, after I was called to do it, and it was part of my whole purpose journey. A few years later, I got contacted by Essence magazine, which people in the States definitely know that's a major magazine. And I used to love purchasing that magazine. And when I was in high school, and I just loved all the articles. And I never would have dreamed that one day, if I continue on the road and continue on the journey, that my name, something that I created, would be inside a magazine. Isn't that powerful? Where it was for me. And someone got a hold of it. And make it so bad, I had limited resources to promote it. But somebody was at the right spot, you hear me, at the right time. So, in my closing, I want to say thank you again for joining me today. Here is my closing statement for you. Be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy, always to your success.